Our next speaker for our eXL 2022 conference, who is Dr. Rasha Elhage. Dr. Rasha Elhage is an associate professor of special education at Chicago State University. She holds a PhD from Wayne State University in education evaluation and research, an MA in special education from Eastern Michigan, and a BA in special education from St. Joseph University in Beirut, Lebanon. For over 16 years, Dr. Elhage was a special education teacher, and 11 of which were in a Michigan public school, including the cities of Detroit and Dearborn. She also worked as a consultant on school reform and international assessment for private and public schools and ministries in the Middle East. Her research interests focused on transition and increasing the employability and independence of young adults with special needs, improving their quality of life. Recently, she has developed an interest in online teaching and learning, especially after the unprecedented switch to remote learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a reminder to all of our attendees, this conference is being recorded and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please use the Q&A tool if you have any questions for the speaker. Now the stage is all yours, Dr. Elhage. You can now share your content and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining my presentation on effective teaching tips for online experiential learning, designing classroom experiences. I don't think we can talk about experiential learning without referencing David Kolb, who proposed his theory and published it in 1984, getting his influence from other theorists, including John Dewey and Jean Piaget. And here we are in 2022, still considering and examining the theory of experiential learning because of its emphasis on the creation of knowledge through the transformation of experience. And if we look at the experiential learning cycle, we can see that it's an iterative process. It divides the learning process into a cycle of 4 basic theoretical components, starting with the concrete experience, which could be a novel experience or a familiar experience, and moving on to the reflective observation, where you adjust your approaches for solving new challenges and you make critical decisions. And then you move on to the abstract conceptualization, which takes the reflective process a step further by focusing on channeling those observations into a set game plan or a theoretical approach. And then the active experimentation, where we test our new ideas and we create new experiences. So in the simplest terms, experiential learning is a process of developing knowledge, skills, and values through experience, research, internships, partnership projects, and other tangible experiences that can improve students' decision-making and problem-solving skills. So, why online experiential learning? Well, students crave interactive real-world learning experiences, and many students report that online material is dry and they feel isolation and loneliness. So that's why experiential learning is even more critical to be applied online, because it creates experiences where students are engaged in active problem solving and not just passive students absorbing knowledge. So it creates that interactive component for the students in the online environment. But also, and I think this is just pretty much common knowledge for every educator and most people, that we retain 75% of what we do compared to only 5% of what we hear. And most importantly is that experiential learning addresses learner variability. And in fact, research has identified certain group of students that have the most to gain from experiential learning. And these groups include minority students and students with disabilities. So why experiential learning? I think we have plenty of reasons to use online experiential learning in our course design. There are plenty of benefits of online experiential learning, including that online experiential learning engages students. Students can do more than just sit and listen to a recorded lesson, or even if it's a synchronous lesson where the teacher is just, lecturing. They are afforded the opportunity to work with hands-on tools. They can collaborate, they can make connections. Because if you design your course with your online course with experiential learning activities, you are creating a more engaging and authentic learning experience. So experiential learning levels the playing field of student engagement, especially for individuals with limited resources, or they don't really have the ability to participate in traditional experiential learning opportunities. It also integrates realism into lessons. So experiential learning enables you, the teacher, the instructors, to bring real-world scenarios to the classroom. And these activities and events that you bring into your learning environment create long-lasting, meaningful understanding of the concepts that you are trying to teach. It facilitates critical thinking, develops soft skills, it develops reflection. It also brings students from diverse backgrounds together. People from diverse geographic, cultural, social, and economic areas of the country, even the world. You can bring them together and they can be part of this online experiential learning through your course. I just want to take a step back to, how you can facilitate critical thinking and develop soft skills and reflection. It's because when you're using the online experiential learning model, your students gain new levels of understanding by observing. They are applying critical thinking skills. They're creating their own interpretations of what they learn. They're listening, they're doing problem solving, they're communicating among themselves and with others. And all these skills are applied, which makes learning by seeing and doing more effective and more permanent. So as you explore the possibility of using experiential learning in your online course, it is valuable for you to first consider formulating answers to a number of questions. So ask yourself, what is the authentic learning need? And that's you connecting what the students are taught to real-world issues, problems, and applications. And once you have identified those authentic learning needs, you need to think about what concrete experience provides students with access to that learning. You want to think about concrete hands-on activities where your students are engaged in active problem solving and not just sitting and being a passive absorber of knowledge. And then you're going to think about how will students carry that concrete experience through the cycle of experiential learning, because you want them to make rigorous connections to the academic content and the professional expertise of their major. And finally, you're going to ask yourself, how will you provide the opportunity for concrete experiences for remote learners in a way that fosters individual learning and contributes to a large-scale learning in the course? And as you explore experiential learning for your online course, revisit those key questions because they will help you think about instructional strategies and tools to help you achieve your online experiential learning goals. So you're going to think about those 4 questions. And you also need to start preparing and planning to implement online experiential learning. So start working on your syllabus, which will include sections that would not normally be there if the course was face-to-face. Think about providing a clear explanation of why you've chosen experiential learning and how going through the experience online will enhance the course for your students and better prepare them for future classes and career opportunities. You also might want to conduct video conferences with any community partners or stakeholders before the class begins, because you want to ensure clear expectations for the students, for yourself, for the faculty, and for your learning partners. So for example, I am at the College of Education at Chicago State University. We send a lot of our students to do internships in student teaching. And every semester prior to the start of the semester, we're always communicating with the cooperating teachers, with the principals, with the districts, so that everybody is on the same page, and then we're sharing those expectations about their roles and how to successfully complete the internships and student teachings. And nowadays we do this through video conferencing because it makes it much easier for everyone. You want to establish what time zones students are in. How many of us have missed appointments because of differences in time zones? So you either want to maybe contact your students before the class begins and ask them what time zone they are in, and also what outside demands on their time will affect their ability to complete the experience. You might also want to consider on your syllabus making sure that all the times have like specific time zones. So for me, I'm always in Central Time, so I make sure that every time there's something scheduled, it has CT next to it, so that and I make sure that I bring that to their attention when I present the syllabus, because some of them are not necessarily in Central Time Zone. And you want to use the discussions feature on your LMS, whether it's Canvas or Moodle, to have students ask questions or raise concerns prior to the beginning of the experience. I know sometimes the courses are not available. They're available only the first day of the, when the course starts. So you might want to talk to your IT people or tech people to make it available a few days before, so that your students can communicate with you through LMS, and then that other students can also see those questions. You want to encourage collaboration by having students respond to one another question or concern. Some other effective teaching tips, you want to organize a space for group discussions. We know that in experiential learning, students should reflect on their experiences and what they are learning throughout the course to help deepen and internalize that knowledge. So you want to organize a space for group discussions to either facilitate group reflections or have students share their experiences, challenges, and successes, and provide feedback and guidance for one another. You want to involve students in the feedback process by creating either breakout rooms, if this is a synchronous lesson, or organize a way where those asynchronous comments are being shared and replied to. You can allow students to create vlogs. So you provide them an opportunity to reflect orally, and the vlogs are basically video blogs. You can use mind maps to help students formulate new ideas, solutions, and reflect on learned experiences. And nowadays with the whiteboards that are present, I'm a Zoom person, so we use the whiteboard. We can use mind maps with those whiteboards even when we have a synchronous session. So I can share my screen, they can share their screen, and it gets pretty interesting when you start using those technology tools. Of course, we want to be sure to provide regular feedback on students' reflections, and we can also develop, that's just a suggestion, to develop questionnaires for students to provide feedback on their learning experience and other query of interest. And this is different from the end of course, evaluation that the students get a link. This is something that the faculty could develop with the students to go deeper into those reflective skills, those problem-solving skills, and how the learning experiences that we have designed have helped reach those learning outcomes. And here are some practical ideas, assignment ideas for online experiential learning. You could develop community partner projects. And those community partner, and the students in those community partner projects, what they can do, they can write or assist with grant proposals for example, a nonprofit organization. They can identify, analyze, conduct research on an important issue or problem. They can, for example, create or contribute to a website. Or develop a marketing plan and materials like brochures, flyers, a website, advertisement, or newspaper advertisements, or even, create satisfaction surveys for a product that they have developed or an assignment that they have done. Another idea is that fulfills the principles of online experiential learning is case study, conducting a case study. And this is where your students apply learning to real life scenarios. By working through complex, ambiguous, real problems, real world problems, and defining, analyzing, solving the challenge. You can ask them to conduct a scavenger hunt within the community on a certain topic, guided by specific reflection questions. You can ask them to share the results with the classmates. You can ask them to apply that learning to new ideas or plans about the topic. You can also ask them to, synthesize or apply this information to solve a problem in maybe an original way. You could also have course-based research projects. So these are real-world projects that can pedagogically assist in enhancing the students' learning, and it usually results in a final product. So a course-based research project is often more applied rather than theoretical in nature. And it can comprise a component of a course or occupy an entire course depending upon the complexity of the project and its ability to contribute to the achievement of program learning outcomes. And any assignment where students, for example, develop a hypothesis, they collect data and come to a conclusion about a given problem and present this project to their classmates, this is considered a course-based research project. Performance-based e-learning, and this is, where they can participate in virtual reality, where they can engage in individual or team-produced dramas, artistic or musical performance. They can exhibit or display something that they have prepared for an audience, and all those would fall under performance-based e-learning. You can ask them to prepare an e-portfolio and an electronic portfolio, and this is like a purposeful collection of sample student work, demonstrations, artifacts that showcase students' learning progression, achievement, evidence of what the students can do. So this collection can include, for example, papers, essays, blogs, multimedia, recordings of demonstrations, interviews, presentations, anything graphic that they have developed, it could be included in that e-portfolio. And finally, another idea is interactive simulations. And simulation is the imitation of the operation of a real-world process or system over time. And it's really interesting because I have recently participated in a training about mixed reality simulations, and we had avatars, and the avatars were in a classroom setting. And the person who is working with the mixed reality simulation team, they send that team a scenario and they ask them that the students act in a particular way. So for example, if you want the students to have like some behavioral problems, you ask them, to have the students act up, and then the teacher candidate, like my students, would be in the classroom. They're not expecting what to come, and they would be in a real situation where, they have those students acting up, and then, we are monitoring how they are dealing with those students. And it's really intense, and it has like great reviews from the students about how they feel. Like it feels very, very real. And this is, I think, this is pretty interesting. I mean, it's expensive, but if the district or the university can afford it, why not? And this comes to the end of my presentation. Before I let you go and answer the questions, I want to create a word cloud. So if you have your phone handy, or I don't know if we can, I'm going to put the link in the chat. So it's asking you, what are you taking with you about online experiential learning? And I want to create a word cloud with all your comments and everything that you're taking away with you from this presentation. And I will send the final word cloud to the team to display it, to show it to you. And this is it for me. These are my contact information. I would be happy to hear from you, and I hope you learned something today about experiential learning.